Blood for the blood gods, calls for the throne of corn. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Once again, it's time for chaos training, and today is back in bicep day. Because I'm getting a lot of back work in, though I only did 8 sets for lats today. I feel like that's all I need. I wanted the focus to be a little bit more on biceps. Even though I didn't do chins or underhand grip stuff for the back, I'm like, I just want to do pull-ups today. All right, so on these I focused on just getting my scapula spreading apart at the bottom, just trying to get a good effective range of motion for me. Even if that meant reducing the weight a little bit. So I paused at the bottom of most of the reps. And yes, disclaimer, that is as far as my elbows lock out. I feel like I've proven it enough times. Like notice even right there, if you guys saw that left arm, that was me flexing my tricep and locking my left arm. Some of it could be that shorter bicep tendon though on that left side. Keep in mind I've had that bicep tendon reattached. Okay. So just an FYI, that left tendon, and that's probably a factor in what some people are saying, that tendon has ruptured completely and been reattached by a surgeon over 20 years ago. So again, possible factor that I tend to forget about sometimes in this. So that literally is the full extension of my left arm. But, what do? Injuries happen. It'll teach me to, not do that much sheer volume on deadlifts and not pay attention to my looseness. I learned that lesson, 23 years ago. I learned a valuable lesson. Another reason I tell guys straps do not save you on deadlifts. You need to learn to lock your elbows. All right, so after the pull-ups, though, we did barbell rows. I'm just keeping these strict. Today, I went light and just did sets of 10 to 12, so we got 12 on the first set. So again, just focused on the squeeze contraction and just taking them to right till it kind of fails, and I can't do another rep without cheating out of the bottom. So again, just good muscle failure. You guys know how I feel about barbell rows. Great overall, just thickness exercise. So again, I like to do them. So did 3 sets of those after the pull-ups. Again, always going to be a good staple in your training. It's hard to go wrong with barbell rows. We can argue all day long about how strict we need to be, whatever else we're doing. In this case, I kept them fairly strict, which is why I only have 185 pounds on the bar. You guys have seen me pin leg row off the floor, like sets of 12, 13 with 250. But when I do these bent over rows, if I keep them strict, I just can't handle as much weight. Now I can strap up. You guys have seen me do 275 strapped up and cheating for work sets, but again, no need. I don't feel that it does anything extra for my back. I get so much heavy work already. There's no point in just beating myself up doing cheat rows. I deadlift heavy every week, right? I do those heavy calf raises. We do heavy squats every week. I don't need to just destroy myself with heavy axial loading and cheating on my back day. It's just not necessary. I've got good back development. At this point, I just need mostly delt and a little more arm to get caught up as I continue to trim down a little leaner. So really that's where my focus is going to be. Arms, delts. So my shoulder days, we're always going to do a little more volume than some of the other muscles, and that's tomorrow. So again, eight sets for lats today, and that's enough. Keep in mind I do pullovers, I do deadlifts through the week on the other days. So there's a cumulative effect on the lats. So kind of did 3 different rep ranges. So we did 5s, then we did 10 to 12, then I did 15s. And these burned enough that I'm like, I don't need any more than this. Let's just do 2 sets of 15 on these one-arm dumbbell rows, taking these through the full range of motion. Again, I always tell people, and people get upset, they argue with me, and they're like, oh, you're never going to build your back, you're never going to have lats, which I do, which is funny. Look, guys, if you want to get the most out of a dumbbell row, you need to stretch all the way down at the bottom. Notice my scapula come apart, right? We stretch down like you're pulling the handle on a lawnmower. We don't have that anymore. I think they're all push button now. All right, they might not even be a thing anymore. But that used to be the old cue given by the old school bodybuilders, and then you bring it all the way up to your chest. I don't believe in that hip swing. I feel like that shortchanges back development, right? I feel like it shortchanges back development to do that swing to the hip, right? You're not getting all that other trap and rear delt and stuff we want in there. And if you wanted only lats, because I'm doing them just for my lats, well, why would you do a dumbbell row like this if you just want lats? Just go do a pull-up. It's a better lat exercise anyway you break it down by a small amount. No, we're doing these for overall back development through a longer range of motion in that isolateral work. Right? So utilize it. And that's just how I feel about it. And I think that's the way to go. And plus, you'll feel more back. Like anyone who does them this way, oh yeah, you're right, I do feel a lot more stuff. Yeah, so try it. Instead of people love to argue with me about it who don't have a back, by the way. And it's like, yeah, try it. I think you'll feel it. You'll feel it a lot. I decided to just do them in the rack here. Let's curl in the squat rack. Instead of going, I look a lot better from that other angle further back. It's actually more photogenic. But I'm just like, let's just worry about effective. So for the curls, because I'm doing some other stuff a little closer grip, I'm doing these just outside of shoulder width, focusing on the full range of motion. Again, notice the left elbow. That comes up. I've had someone say in the comment, are you double jointed? I'm like, no, I'm the exact opposite. Like that is literally my lockout. That is my bicep stretched. That's the full stretch. And I wonder if part of it is maybe he attached the tendon a little further down when the doctor reattached it. So like my full extension is, the biceps hurts. Like that literally hurts and stretches my bicep. Like it's not comfortable. Like it's completely stretched as far as it goes. So I wonder if that's a factor. So the idea here, same thing, I always get people, tuck your elbow. I'm like, how? My lats get in the way. I can't do that. So again, but this feels great in the bicep. So I bring them down to my full lockout, bring it up to the face. So a little bit of extension, keep the wrist cocked back so that you keep tension on the bicep at the top. I get a great bicep pump doing this, great activation. Again, good exercise. If you do not have the best bicep genetics or insertions like me, I think you'll find this exercise very, very effective, right? Do them nice and strict, bring them up to full range of motion. And if you're strict like I'm doing and you're taking them all the way up to the face, you may not be able to do a lot of weight, but you get a lot out of a little there. So again, always want to focus on getting stronger on these, of course, but it takes a long time because again, bicep is a small muscle. I'm taking it through a full range of motion, being strict. Again, takes time to build that up. But did these pretty well to failure. Definitely the third set. The other two, when it got really, really hard, I slowed down the last rep so that I couldn't get it out of the bottom. But this one, I reached failure. I just simply couldn't bring it up. So I got like 10 reps on the first couple. I could not get to 10 there. It was something like failed rep 9. So again, we hit muscle failure. Up next, I'm doing alternating dumbbell curls. Same sort of thing. Biceps are really fatigued and pumped at this point. So what are we doing with these? The idea here is to take the bicep through its full range of motion, all functions. Okay, so again, if you're somewhat strict, you're not going to be able to go that heavy. Now I've done these a little bit more, cheating a little heavier for fewer reps. But here, if I got sets of 12, managed to get 12, they burn like hell. So the idea, you start in a hammer grip, so a pronated grip, semi-pronated, which again, one of the functions of bicep, bring it up and curl up towards your face. Same thing, keep that wrist cocked back a little bit so that you have tension at the top. And it's something I think a lot of times when people are like, but I don't feel my biceps as much when I curl up towards the face. But I'm like, watch my wrist position. If you keep that wrist back, you'll keep that tension on the bicep. And when you do, it actually gives a really good contraction at the top as you bring it up there. So again, wrist position matters on that stuff. Again, same thing. I've had people who are like, why are you trying to get this intricate with the bicep stuff? And I'm like, because my biceps got undertrained. They lagged for so many years, and I didn't train them enough. I went long periods of time with no curls of any type. So to play catch up, I really can't afford to leave any muscle fibers out. So that's the idea. That's something I've brought up. Again, I've had people argue. They're like, but all these other little functions are so minor. I'm like, but they matter. Right? Again, when you're trying to squeeze every last bit of bicep development, you have to think in terms of, should I work all three functions of the bicep? Should I work a wider grip? Should I work a closer grip also? Because again, if you're trying to get every muscle fiber, it matters. For a dominant muscle, like for me, maybe my lats or calves, I might not need to think about that because they're big, they're well developed. I can just come in and train them heavy and be done. But something, again, like the bicep, probably a good idea to make sure to get them caught up that we think about them and work every aspect of it and say, let's just completely and thoroughly work it. So multiple exercises, work all the functions. So again, picking these first two exercises, I'm trying to focus on getting everything, right? Getting as much bicep activation as possible with that version of the exercise. So again, working it through the full range of motion. Same thing here. Since that is part of the range of motion, the bicep is to bring that up, keep the wrist back, you keep in tension. It burns like hell. Like I get, again, I would say in terms of just pump, I get an amazing pump from this exercise. That's why I started doing it recently. I'm like, I know it will work really well. I haven't been doing the alternating one. When I started doing it a few weeks ago, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, there we go. Like that is an exercise that I truly feel the entire bicep on fire. Like my biceps are on fire. The brachialis is on fire, bicep, the whole bicep lights up. So I really, really like them, and I like doing them that way. And it makes sense mechanically because you're working everything. But at the end of the day, I always tell guys, do you really feel the muscle? And if the version of the exercise you feel a serious deep pump and contraction in a muscle, you're probably doing okay. So no matter what anyone else thinks about your form, if you feel that muscle stretch and contract and pump and light up, and that muscle starts cramping at the end of sets, you're probably on the money. You're probably not too far from perfect. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about it. Your muscle knows that it got really good tension. So then after that, I decided let's do the easy bar a little bit, hit those other angles. I still wanted to get a little more volume in. I didn't want to mess with the preacher curl or everything. I'm like, let's just grab this easy bar with a close grip. Okay, because again, I did that wider grip earlier outside of shoulder. So get in a little closer, use the easy bar. Yeah, it's going to hit a little more brachialis. It does hit it. I feel a little more of that. So that lower outer area, which is not really the bicep. I feel that a lot, but it's still pumped the bicep too. So again, good activation, still hitting that whole upper arm. So again, did again some of these failure. The first set I went lighter and it was I hit like 17 reps. I'm like, I need to put more weight on. So I went to these, and again, just take it to temporary muscle failure. So trying to pause near the end of the bottom and drive it up. And that rep I just couldn't. It just stuck at the bottom. And then I finished up with 3 sets of band curls to failure high reps, around 25 reps or so. It's hard to count. So again, these finish my biceps off really well because all that other stuff were a lot of bottom position. This is really getting that peak contraction. Notice the bicep vein, like I get a great contraction, really good shortened position. Get that benefit of the overspeed eccentric, might help the tendons a little bit, that's the idea. So again, will help on the deadlifts, it'll help with keeping the elbows healthy. Again, I get a hell of a pump though from these, right? So I got all the veins popping out and everything. So again, this is just a finisher. The other stuff is the real meat and potatoes, working all those different angles. This is just me coming in, just getting a hell of a pump, getting some blood flow. So again, that whole idea of heavier work, more medium work, and then just some stuff, high rep stuff, just to burn the muscle out. So you see me doing a lot of that on some stuff, reverse hypers, band work, things at the end of the workouts were in that 20 plus rep range, with these movements. Again, the idea here, just finish the muscle off, get as much blood flow to it as I can after doing all the heavier tension. Make sure we're working every aspect. But pretty happy with today's workout. Great bicep pump. Good back pump too. So I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.